Hi Jochen, welcome here to Valila Studiot.
Thank you very much for having me. Hi Egbert.
Pleasure to have you here. For those of you that don't know you yet, who is Jochen?
So I'm Jochen Faugel. I came here, I think by now, is it almost 19 years ago? I was born in Romania, but I spent a bit of time in Germany, then most of my childhood, my youth in Austria, where I then met my wife, and that's how I ended up here about 19 years ago.
So your wife kind of brought you to Finland?
Yeah, that was the case with me, yeah.
In these 19 years, did you already have work in Austria, Germany, or did you find your first job here in Finland? How did that journey go?
Well, I was mostly studying in Austria when I met my wife and I came here. But when I came here, I already had a study place. Okay. I came with Erasmus. And I already had a job, a little job in the German-speaking kindergarten.
Okay.
So that's how, I mean, I came for my wife, but before I came, I was lucky enough to kind of sort those things out.
Proper preparation fashion.
Proper
you
preparation,
were fully prepared.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
Did the preparation prepare you for landing in Finland?
In some way, yes. In other ways, no. I mean, I had a distance relationship with my wife for about 2.5 years. So, and I visited Finland several times, so you do know some of the country and the culture already. Yeah. But I mean, there's only so much you can do to really prepare yourself for a complete move to a new country. What
were the kind of biggest shocks for you? Because you mentioned you visited here a couple of times. What were the biggest differences when it became permanent, so to say?
Yeah. I mean, the first surprise I had, because I didn't know much about Finland, is that Finland is flat. You know, I mean, coming from Austria, specifically Salzburg, you have these beautiful mountains around you. You don't really have them in Finland. I mean, Finland has a beautiful nature, but you're lacking the mountains. Otherwise, I think the cold just hit me at some point. You know, when you experience minus 25 degrees the first time, you have to get used to it. Otherwise, I think the biggest challenge I had probably was coming November, December, being new in a country, having to integrate yourself, finding your path, and then dealing with the darkness. Yeah. That was probably a bigger challenge I had to face.
How did you face that challenge of the darkness and the wetness of the November month in particular, which has a bit of a reputation?
It does, and for a good reason. But I think I just got used to it over time, and I don't think it took very long to get used to it. I was just biting through it the first year. I was very busy getting into work. I had to study a lot. So the days kind of took care by themselves. And then you just go with the flow. Yeah. Yeah. But I think overall I had the discussions. I mean, I've been working with international people for quite a long time. Many asked me, how is it, you know, and do you feel worse? Do you feel better? I think personally the darkness doesn't really affect your mood. It's more like the mood you have. So if you're in a good place, you deal with the darkness. There are many great things you can do here, maybe outside. Well, outside as well, if you just suit up, but also inside. When the summer comes, the spring comes, you enjoy the beautiful weather outside. But I don't think the weather itself affects the mood.
No. Yeah, I mean, I always say it's like you spend your time at the office between 9 and 5, and whether it gets light at 10, 11 or 12 or not, you're inside the office, so yeah. Now, at some point, you have children. Has life for you changed living here in Helsinki before and after kids?
It did, yeah. And I think it probably changes for every parent, no matter where you are living. It's just such a significant impact kids have in your life. Like when I came here, I was 24. You know, you're studying, you have your friend, or you grow your friendship circles, you enjoy yourself, thinking mostly about yourself, and then you start to have kids. And now life is not about you anymore, it's mostly about the kids. So your spare time probably suffers a little bit. You focus more on the kids. But I think that's something I very much appreciate about Finland. You know, it's very much oriented towards families, and as a family you're very well protected here. Whether it's, you know, finding a kindergarten spot in time, finding a school spot, or finding a lot of activities your children can then do, which of course helps you greatly as a parent to maneuver your life.
Now, you mentioned you came here, you had partial employment?
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your experience over the years working in, let's say, a German context, Finnish context, international context like you're doing now. What are some of the biggest differences that you spot?
Well, I was lucky enough to work in many areas, whether it's been the corporate side, startup side, public side, private sector, kindergarten. And pretty much for the 19 years I have been here. You do notice a few differences compared to, let's say, Germany or Austria. I think many mentioned the flat hierarchy, which I think definitely is the case. But it doesn't mean, or I think that's also something you have to learn for yourself. What does it mean if a workplace has a flat hierarchy? It doesn't mean that I can make decisions for my boss. You know, it doesn't mean that I can be respectless. It just means that I have probably more opportunities and less barriers to talk to upper management, middle management, and they very much appreciate my input, you know, and I mean, I've been hired for the expert in that specific role. And I always found that no matter which job I had, people immediately trusted that I'm doing a good job. The very reason why I've been hired.
You,
exactly. And that's something I very much appreciate here.
Yeah. Has the language been German, English, Finnish? How's that been?
Mostly,
Swedish?
not Swedish, no. I think there's one sentence I can say in Swedish and not worth mentioning in this context. It has been German at times when I worked with the German market, so DACH, Switzerland, Germany, and Austria. But for most of the time, it has been indeed English, which I also very much appreciate here. I think there are certainly less opportunities you have if you don't speak Finnish, but nonetheless, I think Finland is one of the few countries in the world where you can really grow and express yourself and find the jobs you want to have even in English, and if you're not speaking the native language.
And would you say that's then for the whole of Finland, or particularly like here in the capital region, Helsinki, which is quite international?
Yeah, certainly in the capital region. That's also where I worked during this 19 years, and I've heard from other people that the more north you get, it might be more challenging. But I think overall, Finland, I think generally offers you more opportunities to work in English.
Now for me, I've lived here for 20 years. For me, Helsinki has kind of become my home.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Finland overall, but Helsinki is kind of like my town. How is that for you, 19 years in?
Yeah.
Would you say the same?
Absolutely, yes. And it's always surprising when I go back to Austria to visit my family. I mean, it feels like going home in some sense. Yeah. It feels a bit like having a holiday. But you do notice different cultural aspects, which you may not appreciate that much anymore in your home country compared to Finland. So, and particularly Helsinki. Right? Yeah. I used to study in Vienna, which as a student, it's a great place to be. But just Helsinki for me is honestly the perfect place. It is a great size, it's not too big, but as a capital you find everything you're looking for, whether it's food, art, work. You have nature around the corner, which is very important for me. So personally, I very, very much enjoy living here. Yeah.
Now in your current work, you guide a lot of international talent. What have you seen as some of the success cases? What does it really take from an individual, irrespective of their cultural background, to be successful here in Finland, if success is what drives them?
Well, so I've been working with spouses of international talents who themselves, I mean, are most of the time highly skilled themselves, particularly now working with international startup founders for the last 3.5 years. I think the requirement, whether you're looking for work, whether you try to be successful in business, but I think also if you try to make friends, is that you have to understand that your first job when you're coming here is to build your network. Finland is a small country. Helsinki is a small private club in many ways. People know each other. A lot is built on trust, which is again something I very much appreciate. Yeah. But that also then requires you when you're coming here to get to know the people, to make an effort. So if you're an introvert, you just have to kind of, get through it. And go out there, try to meet people, go to networking events, join, clubs, associations related to your hobbies. You have to be active. Yeah. And that goes for finding a job, for being successful with your startup, and for making friends.
So if you think about life after kids. Now, before kids, there's a lot of opportunities to network. Once kids come into the picture, how is Helsinki for you as a place at that point?
I go to hobbies, yes. Of course, you meet people in daycare. But I think also otherwise, I realized that both the work environment, not only the social, but also the work environment is actually very friendly towards children. So I have been in meetings where parents came with their kids because there was no other opportunity at time. I've seen people at business conferences coming with their babies, to meet people. And again, that's something I find very nice here, and a testimony to the family friendliness of Finland and Helsinki.
Yeah, you mentioned Finland is a place that is relatively friendly for families. Are workplaces similarly friendly? So you can balance work-life balance? Absolutely,
yes. Yeah, I would fully agree. Certainly it depends on where you're working, who your employer is, but I think in general, employers very much understand the concept of well-being, kind of separating working time and family time, and that it's important to have both of that. So I never had an issue with any employer, taking time for my family or going on paternity leave or taking time off if needed. So absolutely, yeah.
Now, today you work for the city of Helsinki.
I do, yeah.
Do you work in Finnish?
No, to be honest, I'm one of the few, I think, in the team whose Finnish is, I somewhat can speak on a social level, but certainly not on a professional level, no. So English is my main language, yeah.
Would you wish for that to kind of be the case, to have a bit more integrated approach to like language buddying at work, now that you actually work for the government in a way?
Yeah. It's a good point. First of all, yes, I wish it would be, and luckily there is. So the city itself, and I think pretty much every employer in Helsinki is very understanding and supportive if you try to learn the language. Whether you can do it during the work times or then supporting you financially if you try to do it outside the work times. It's an important topic. I'm unfortunately a bad example when it's coming to language, but I can warmly recommend everybody to learn it as soon as possible. Yeah.
Wrapping it up, if I were to ask you to describe Finland in general, but more particularly Helsinki as a city to live and to work, what would be the 3 words you would use to summarize Helsinki?
I'm not sure if I can explain it in 3 words. Probably one word might be it's calming. So every time I'm going abroad and I'm coming back, I'm landing in Helsinki, I feel like, like exactly. It just you feel peaceful. There's a lot of space. There is a lot of nature. What I very much appreciate is respect. I think whether it's Finnish people or people in Helsinki very much respect everybody. And there is the value of time, I think. Finnish people do value time, they respect time, which means that I'm supposed to, of course, also respect that or their time, be on time for meetings, come prepared and so on. But I can also know that I get my space, I get my time. And if I need to take time, I have that option.
So good place to live, not be lived.
Very much, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.